What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's get started with the MLB standings. We got a bunch of football to cover. Haven't done game picks yet or even talked about Monday Night Football yet. Had a couple days off, taking care of some things. So let's start with the MLB standings. Lining down here, we got about a week and a half left in the regular season. American League East, Toronto Blue Jays lost last night to Tampa. Yankees pick up a win over Minnesota, so they get to 4 games out of the division. Toronto still at 89 and 63. Still right now the 1 seed in the American League. Yankees 4 back. Boston beats the A's in extras last night. Walk off from Nick Sogard coming off the bench to hit for Cedric Rafaela in the 11th or 10th inning rather. They're 6 out of the division. But they're still in first place over there. Cleveland wins again. They've won 6 games in a row. They take the first 2 against the Tigers in their 3-game set. And all of a sudden, they're just 4.5 games out of the American League Central. Now, they only have 11 games left. But they get another game with Detroit today. If they beat Detroit and sweep them and get to 3.5 games out, now you have Detroit reeling and you're winners of 7 straight. You give yourself a shot. And right there on the wild card race as well. Kansas City has fallen out of it. American League West, Houston wins yesterday. Seattle finally loses, snapping a 10-game winning streak. So Houston back in first place for now. Half game has Seattle, Texas 5 games out. They've lost their last 4, so a bit of a slump after a hot streak. National League East, he's already clinched that division. Mets, of course, still trying to lock up a wild card spot. National League Central, Brewers still in first place. Cubs last night, or yesterday, they had a day game. They defeat the Pittsburgh Pirates 8-4, and they clinched the playoff, their first playoff for 5 years since 2020 pandemic year. For that, I think it was it was maybe 17 or 18. One of those years was right after the World Series year. They're at 88 and 64, still 5 games out of the division. So the division isn't over yet, but they have clinched a playoff spot. They'll most likely be the first wild card in the National League. Reds still alive. Even the Cardinals are as well, even though they're 5 games under 500. Dodgers and Padres hold serve in the National League West. Dodgers remain 2 games ahead of San Diego. San Diego beat them at 7-4 yesterday. So Dodgers remain 2 games ahead of San Diego. National League West in terms of first round buys. Toronto leads Detroit by 4 games for the 1 seed. Detroit right now is only like a game and a half ahead of Houston for a first round bye. So they got to make sure, and their division lead has almost crumbled as well. National League, the Brewers lead the Phillies by like 2.5 or 3.5, I think, for the 1 seed. The Phillies have a pretty firm, I think 5.5 or 6.5 game win on the Dodgers for a bye. So it looks like those teams will definitely get a bye at the very least. Some Brewers hang on to their division, for sure they will. 5 can mean of 11 or 12 games left. Should be able to hang on to that, no problem. They have the best record in baseball for a reason. Wild card race in the American League, Yankees, the first wild card still. Boston and Seattle are now tied, both at 83 and 69. Both are tied for the last 2 spots. They are 2 games behind the Yankees for the first wild card spot. Cleveland's 2.5 games out. Texas is 4.5 games out of the playoff spot. National League, Cubs, first wild card. They put the 5-game lead over San Diego for that first spot. Mets are 5 games behind San Diego. Arizona's a game and a half out. Lose a heartbreaker to the Giants yesterday. Brandon Pfaadt, complete game 1 shutout, 97 pitches. Arizona doesn't score. They left the base so nobody out, I think, in the 10th inning, and in the 11th inning, Giants score 5 runs to win 5-1. Reds also win. So Reds and Giants are both 2 games out of the spot. Cardinals are 4.5 games out of the spot. Miami's actually been playing a lot better lately, and they're 6 games out. Definitely going to be too little, too late for them. Only 10 games left, but they're technically still alive. Even Atlanta has had a better second half. They've actually won 5 in a row. And they're 8.5 out. That's definitely too little, too late for them. With only, I think, 9 games left, but they're going to be eliminated any day now. I know Baltimore and the A's got eliminated officially yesterday, but you don't know if it's something to build on for them, but that's the wild card race in Major League Baseball. Monday Night Football from week 2. Bucks beat the Texans 20-19. They scored a touchdown very late in that game. Texans, they stopped the Houston Texans. on the ensuing drive to hang on. Baker Mayfield, 25 of 38 for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. 71 yards rushing for Bucky Irving, 5 catches, 56 yards for Mike Evans. Bucks about to a 2-0 start. They look very good. I do lose Elijah Cansey when they're D tackles for the year for torn pec, so that is a decent loss, but you do have a pretty solid defensive line. You have Vita Vey, who plays the same position, so they should be fine, hopefully. But Cansey does have a lot to do with that top tier run defense they've had for years now. Tampa wins. This is a game that was kind of a blazing hot start. It was 14-10 Tampa, kind of back and forth early second quarter. Then for a solid almost 2 quarters, nobody scored. And the fourth quarter was an exciting finish. So kind of a game that started like, wow, this is going to be a banger, to kind of that, but then it finished well. Another come from behind victory from Baker Mayfield. He's gotten better every year since he got to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise. He's become a very good quarterback. Never comeback win for him. For the Texans, Stroud struggles a little bit. The offensive line is really bad. They've kind of gotten worse every year since they drafted him. That's not a good sign. They got a good defense, but offensively, definitely still some issues. Of course, Joe Mixon's hurt, so their starting running back is Nick Chubb, who's past his prime. And even, with Tank Dell injured, the number 2 receiver, and Christian Kirk is hurt, I think. So I think the number 2 receiver is who? It's one or two guys. Your Jaden Higgins, who's a rookie. I think Jalen Knowles is also a rookie as well. And the offensive line isn't good. They have a new play caller, so a lot of moving pieces offensively for Houston. They haven't re-gelled yet. They start off 0-2 on the year. And the Chargers beat the Raiders 20-9. That was definitely a snooze fest. But Chargers look really good. 2-0. That defense looks absolutely elite. Geno Smith really struggled in that game. He looked really bad in his Legion Stadium debut. Well, I don't know if he may have played out in the past, but first home game with the Raiders did not look good. Chargers pick up the win. They have a dude. The defense was elite. They look really good. They are 2-0. Raiders dropped to 1-1 on the season. I know there was a bunch of weird talk about how, like, Tom Brady, who of course is part owner of the Raiders, he's also an announcer for Fox, obviously. How he was like sitting in the press box with somebody from the Raiders, and some people didn't like that, and they don't like that he's now allowed in the production meetings. He wasn't last year because of he's part owner of the Raiders. I'm gonna try and say this as straight as I can, try and end any confusion as much as possible. Even I don't get some parts of it, to be honest. He's not supposed to be able to be an announcer. If, as a part owner of an NFL franchise, he should not be allowed to be a broadcaster for any network. Fox doesn't have a network. He definitely works for Fox. The NFL loves Tom Brady, so they're allowing it. They shouldn't be allowing it. That's what the people are telling you. But he shouldn't be allowed to do this. Last year, he was not allowed in those production meetings. He is this year. He should not be allowed. Again, he should not be allowed to be a broadcaster. First of all, he's not good at it. He's boring as hell. But I don't think the production meeting is that big of a deal. As someone who's worked a lot of broadcasting, maybe not on this scale, but I have at the collegiate level, lower level collegiate level, I've done a lot of production meetings. There's nothing that he could really relay from that meeting to the Raiders that would help them win the football game. It just you tell the cameraman and woman, like, what shots to kind of look for, depending on what camera you're on, what kind of camera you have, what the director and the producer are looking for. So even if, like, there might be one camera that might be highlighting certain players, that, like, that's not going to help anybody game plan. Also, there's so much film out on all these players. If there's nothing that these coaches haven't, don't prepare for. I know Ben Johnson, the Bears coach, was talking about it. He was like, we do every week in practice, we do something different, depending on, what kind of offense, and defense we're playing, schematically, everything's going to be different every week. We prepare for each team differently, obviously. So he covers that much of a problem. I look, again, he shouldn't be allowed to be a broadcaster. However, I don't think just the sole event of him being the production meeting, there's nothing that he could relay from the production meeting to Pete Carroll, I'm like, oh, I think you should do this today. But there's nothing like no one in that control room, that has any association with any NFL team. Obviously, I don't see what the issue is with that. The only issue here is obviously the bigger issue at hand that he should not be allowed to be a broadcaster. But other than that, let's do game picks and get out of here. Thursday night football tonight is Bills Dolphins uh, in Buffalo. I'm taking the Bills in this one. Lions 12.5. A big line from the NFL game, especially in week 3. I have a feeling Bills are going to cover that. I expect this game to be relatively lopsided. Dolphins have looked really, really bad. Mike McDaniel looks like he wants to be put out of his misery. They look really bad. Bills look very good so far. They're at 2-0. They had that crazy game against the Ravens. They come all the way back. Obviously, you blew just out of the water last week. You're at home. If it was in Miami, Miami's a tough place to play. Maybe Miami can keep it close, but in Buffalo, I don't see how this game isn't relatively ugly. Buffalo should win by a lot. I think they cover the 12.5, to be honest. Sunday, the 1 o'clock slate. Packers, Browns. I'm taking the Packers. I think Cleveland could keep it relatively close, especially if they can get the run game going a little more. Quichon Junkin should have the handcuffs off a little bit. And we're easing him into it. I know he had the off-the-field stuff, and he hadn't signed his contract yet. His lost second-round picks there hadn't signed their contracts yet. Till like right before the season, he was one very notable one. So I think they'll get the run game going a little bit more this week. But Green Bay also, that defense looked late. They've looked absolutely fantastic. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now, at least the best team in the NFC. The only team that maybe compares to them probably is the Bills, as of right now. But I'm going to take the Packers. Joe Flacco, you kind of know what you're getting. He's a good leader. He's a nice guy. He'll throw for a lot of yards. He's also going to throw a bunch of interceptions. So I think Green Bay might be able to take advantage of that. They're going to get a lot of pressure on him and they'll force him to make some mistakes. Flacco has always been the pocket passer. He's almost 40. He's old. He can't move anymore. So I think he takes a bunch of sacks. I think Packers lug 7.5. Packers probably cover that. I don't think it's like the Bills game could be like 40-14. I don't think it'll be that bad, but if it's 30-14, I wouldn't be that surprised in this Packers Browns game. So give me Green Bay for sure. Yeah, if it was at Lambeau, I would say they probably close one the Browns. So it won't be as bad, but in Cleveland, Packers still win, but maybe Cleveland keeps it to like a two touchdown game or so. Colts, Titans. I'm going to take the Colts. Daniel Jones, man, he's played well so far. Only 2 games. But he's played well through these first 2 weeks with the Colts. He's looked good. They're running the football well. They're playing good defense. Titans have looked really, really bad. Cam Ward, I wouldn't say he's the main problem thus far. But the offensive line is still terrible. And that receiving core is really, really bad. You have Calvin Ridley, who's pretty good. You have that one kid who lit up Travis Hunter a year or 2 ago. Eric Ayomar, I think his name is. Although there isn't a whole lot. Tony Pollard's a decent running back, but that defense isn't anything special. I don't think Brian Callen's the right leader. It's not a good football team. They look really, really rough so far, especially offensively. They're a mess. I think Indy starts out 3-0. Could that be your surprise playoff team this year in the AFC? Bengals Vikings. So when this game was first scheduled, I'm sure a lot of fans were like, "Ooh, this is really exciting. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 potential playoff teams. This should be a really good game." Now you realize it's Jake Browning against Carson Wentz. Joe Burrow just had surgery. He's having surgery tomorrow for his turf toe injury. He's going to be out 3 months. Jake Browning is the starter. And J.J. McCarthy hurt his ankle. He's going to be out a couple of weeks, supposedly 2 to 4 weeks. And their backup is Carson Wentz. So he is starting. Carson Wentz is the first guy in NFL history to start for 6 different teams in 6 straight years. It's crazy. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I know the Vikings are favored. I think the Bengals win. I don't trust Carson Wentz. He was really bad in that game with the Chiefs last year. Denver wasn't a slouch. Denver was a playoff team last year. They had an elite defense last year, and they still that's a great defensive unit. Chiefs were resting some guys. Like he wasn't playing with, the typical ones, I don't think, at least not all of them. The Vikings, obviously, just Justin Jefferson is maybe the league's best. You have the offensive line supposed to be better. We did not look good against Atlanta last week. So that's an elite offense. I know Aaron Jones is also hurt. He's still a very good back. You do have Jordan Mason, who last year was elite for the 49ers in place of Christian McCaffrey. The offensive line from Minnesota looked really bad last week. Bengals do not have a good defense, of course. However, they do have Troy Hendrickson, who is maybe the league's best pure pass rusher. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to pick up as well. I have a little more confidence in Jake Browning with his elite offense than Carson Wentz with his elite offense. Steelers Patriots. I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I think it's going to be a bit of a boring game, kind of a low-scoring barn burner. I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Obviously, week 1, you get by the Jets. Week 2, you lose to Seattle. They obviously haven't looked great overall. The Jets completely blew that game. Their defense looked bad. The Aaron Rodgers did like the Jets up. He obviously had a lot of motivation. Last week, Pittsburgh did not look very good. Had that bad blunder on that kickoff that was really costly against Seattle. I'm going to take them to beat New England. They have not looked good. Drake May played really well last week. They've run the football very well. But defensively, they've looked really off. Getting Christian Gonzalez healthy is going to help for sure this week. That's understandable. And they made some plays defensively. Milton Williams made a big play up front. But they really have not looked great defensively, especially in that secondary. Aaron Rodgers, he's overall, outside his projection, he lit them up. Was not as efficient against Seattle, but still made some nice plays. That Patriots defense is a little bit worrisome right now. I'm going to take the Steelers to win the game. Rams, Eagles. I'm actually going to take the Rams in this one. Rams look very good. Stafford's playing really well. That offense looks great. They have a very underrated defense. This is a very good football team. Philly, they look good. I wouldn't say they look great. In week 1 against Dallas, even if the Chiefs kind of just got by, they're just a much better team in Dallas. Quinyon Mitchell got lit up in that game. The pass rush didn't look as great. Even against Kansas City, Kansas City was playing through a lot of injuries. They kind of just got by them. So the defense definitely looked a lot better against Kansas City than it did against Dallas. But I think the Rams should be able to put up a bunch of points in this game. So I'm going to take the Rams to win that game and start right now. Jets, Bucks. Give me the Bucks. The only 6.5, they're definitely going to cover that. The Jets. They're horrible. Justin Fields is out this week. Tyrod Taylor starting. I don't think he's a bad backup by any means. He's a fine fill-in starter, but the guy also always gets hurt. There's no promising he'll even be able to get through the game. And the O-line looked pretty good against Pittsburgh. Did not look so good against Buffalo. Their defense looked possibly even worse. The Buffalo is elite. Their secondary is really bad. They're very thin up front. Now Jermaine Johnson went out, which means Michael Clemens, who's dreadful, might be starting. So I don't think they'll get much pressure on the quarterback, although Cody Mauch, their right guard in Tampa, was just shut down for the year. He's had season-ending surgery. But I expect this game to be that close. I think the Bucks win without much of a problem. Raiders Commanders might be Mariota playing in this game. Jane Daniels has a knee sprain. He might not play in the game. I am going to take the Commanders. I do think Mariota plays. However, he played for the Raiders a couple of years ago. Team's a bit different. Obviously, it's a different regime from than when he was there, but still a bunch of those guys are still there. So that gives the Commanders a bit of a game planning advantage. I think Krosky Merrick gets a little more involved on the ground this week. Geno Smith did not play very well last week against the Chargers. The Chargers do have an elite defense. However, he does throw I think 3 interceptions in that game. So I think the Mariota over the last couple of seasons, he truly became a full-time backup. Has looked okay in fill-in action. I think he gets the job done. I think Washington picks up the win at home. Falcons and Panthers. Give me Atlanta. Carolina looks really bad. Bryce Young has looked really bad. Now you have injuries on the offensive line. The Falcons Panthers looked elite last week. Jalen Walker, James Pierce really stepping up. I think they'll give Bryce some fits. And Carolina's defense still looks really bad. Atlanta's offense look good. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Panthers, and I think the Atlanta Falcons pick up the win. Texans Jaguars. I think this is where Houston gets their first win. Jacksonville in week one, you got past a bad team, Carolina. I don't think there's a whole lot there. Week two, Joe Burrow gets hurt in the second quarter. You still couldn't get it done. Trevor Lawrence made a lot of bad mistakes in that game. Houston's defense is even better than them by a long shot. Until he stopped making his boneheaded decisions, I don't really trust that guy. Give me the Houston Texans to get their first win of the season. The 405 slates be Denver Broncos and me Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers to 3 now. They look really good so far this season. The defense looks really good. It's, again, similar to Pittsburgh and New England. It's probably a lower scoring game. Could be like a 21-17 kind of game. I think the Chargers pull away. Bo Nix has not looked great. I'll take the Chargers to pick up a win. This is in Denver. I might lean Denver probably, but at SoFi, I'll take the Chargers to win the game. Just never looked really good. I'll take them to win. Saints and Seahawks. So New Orleans, we all knew they were going to be bad, like really, really bad. To me, they haven't looked as bad as we thought. Spencer Rattler hasn't been good, but he hasn't been a complete train wreck like we all thought. At least been competitive. You were competitive with Arizona. But I don't think Arizona is that good. You were competitive last week. But still, they're not a good team. They can't really stop anybody. Can't go off the field on third down. But out they have an old team. Seattle's got I think a relatively good defense. Very young, but overall pretty solid. I'm gonna pick Seattle to win the game. Seattle's a tough place to play. If this was in New Orleans, I might have actually taken the Saints, but I think Seattle picks up the win here. I think it'll be a relatively close game. I could see Seattle favored by 7. I could see them not covering, but I think Seattle in a close game gets by. 425 Cowboys and Bears. This honestly is gonna be a pretty funny game. Two teams I think are just very, very sloppy. I'm going to take Dallas. I do not trust any of the teams. I don't think any of these teams are good. I think both teams are staring 6-11 right in the face. And that Cowboys defense, it looks horrible. But also Caleb Williams has looked just dreadful. And that Bears defense has looked bad. And now Jalen Johnson, the league's best corners, he's out for the year. This is looking like a long year for Chicago. I think Dallas will be able to put up a lot of points on the Chicago Bears. I think they pick up the win. Cardinals and 49ers. I'm going to take the Niners here. Both teams are 2-0 to start the year. No one Niners have a bunch of injuries. Purdy may not play, so it might be Mac Jones again. Kittle is not going to play in this game. I'm not sure if I use play. He probably isn't going to play. I don't trust Arizona. I don't trust Kyler Murray. He's really, really just mediocre as hell. I've said it so many times on the show. It's almost like a broken record at this point. Mac Jones looked really good last week. It was against the Saints, who were awful. But I'm taking Niners to win this game. Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan wants to draft his guy. Back in 2021, he was overruled by his GM. They took Trey Lance. We all know how that worked out for the 49ers. So now he's finally got Mac Jones. Maybe he thinks he can fix him. Maybe it's just, this all of a sudden he's instilled this confidence in Mac Jones. Maybe. I think the Niners win this game. I'm not ready on the Arizona Cardinals. Sunday Night Football is Chiefs Giants. This is actually a really interesting game. So Giants in week one, it was ugly. Russ looked really bad. The offensive line looked atrocious. The offense looked brutal. Last week, obviously, the offense looks fantastic. Marcus Marbeau subs in for James Hudson, left tackle. He gives up 4 penalties on one drive. And he plays really, really, really well. They end up kind of choking the game away in the end. They lose in overtime, but a crazy game. It was very, very close against Dallas. Chiefs have not looked so great. Obviously, you lose 2 close games to the Chargers, and the Eagles' offense does not look good. You have a bunch of injuries. You have guys out. There's some frustration seems to be building within the building. Some rumors that they're frustrated with the receiver group, and Chris Jones just said he was frustrated last week against Philadelphia. So Is there a locker room issue going on in Kansas City? They haven't gotten the run game going yet, which is concerning. But I think Chiefs win this game. I think it's a big game for both squads. If the Chiefs are 0-3, it's one thing when you lose to a division rival who's the clear-cut second-best team in your division and defending Super Bowl champs. If you lose to the freaking Giants, you're sitting at 0-3. You don't have Rashee Rice for another 3 weeks. I'm not sure if it's even word he's playing this week. Now you start to worry. Now you're like, ooh, I don't know what's going on. But if Giants wins, a huge confidence builder for them. Chiefs win, it could be like a got me right game. If you lose, okay, losing to the Chiefs, that's kind of expected. However, your schedule is so brutal the rest of the way. You had to win at least one of those two divisional games to open up the year, and you didn't. They're still like 1-7, 1-8 in the face if they lose this game. So, but I did think that's what happens. I don't trust Brian Dable in that organization as far as I can throw them. I think the Chiefs pick up the win. I think the Giants keep it relatively close. Chiefs may still cover the 6.5, but not by a whole lot. I'll take the Chiefs to win. Monday Night Football, Lions Ravens. This should be the game of the week. This should be a fantastic game. This is if you told me this was the Super Bowl, I wouldn't, not what I had, but I wouldn't be completely out of the question. I'm going to take the Ravens. Lions in week 1 against Green Bay did not look very good. The offense did not look very fluid at all. However, last week in Chicago, the offense obviously puts up over 50 points. They looked a lot better. Jared Goff played a lot better. But the Ravens defense is supposed to be really, really good. Obviously, you get up 41 to the Bills in week 1. The Bills are beyond elite. Last year, obviously, looked a lot better against Cleveland. Cleveland also was not a very good team at all. So we'll see what happens with the Lions. It's in Baltimore, so I'll take the Ravens to win the game. I think they're a better football team. Obviously, you got Lamar Jackson and company. I think they'll be able to run the ball as they always do. Should be a fantastic game. I'll take the Ravens to win that one. Those are your game picks for week 3 in the NFL. That's all I have for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.